You're watching The Jump. I'm Malika Andrews in for Rachel Nichols this week. We have a packed show, so let's get right to it. Let's run it back with the reveal of the 2021 Christmas Day slate. At noon Eastern on ESPN, it's the Knicks and the Hawks in a rematch of that intense first-round playoff series. Will Trae Young put a bow on his bow? And then at 2:30 Eastern on ABC, the defending champion Bucks will host the Celtics. Jason Tatum and Giannis on the same court is going to be must-see TV. And then at 5 o'clock Eastern on ABC, it's the defending Western Conference champ Suns facing off against the Warriors. It could be an epic backcourt battle between the Splash Brothers on one side, lining up against Devin Booker and CP3. On ESPN and ABC at 8 Eastern, it's the Lakers and the Nets. KD, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook. Yeesh, enough said. We're laughing in studio and wrapping it up on the night on ESPN. It's Luka Doncic and the Mavericks on the road against Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz. It could be showtime from two of the league's top stars. And here are the opening night games that our broadcast partners over at TNT will carry. It's Nets-Bucks that opens the season, followed by the Warriors at the Lakers. More to come on those games a little bit later, but it is time to run it back. We're welcoming in Adrian Wojnarowski here to talk about the release of our schedule. He is our senior insider. Thanks so much for joining The Jump, Woj. We have to start with the Lakers and Nets on Christmas Day. What are your expectations for that game from a league perspective?
Malika, this is the battle of the Titans, and I think everybody's hoping that this is going to be a game that you're going to see both teams at full strength, and the idea of that kind of star power in one place and all the storylines within it. I think the Lakers in a Western Conference with no Kawhi Leonard and no Jamal Murray in Denver to certainly start the season and maybe for much of the season. The Lakers are certainly going to play the role as favorites, and this is a Nets team, that Milwaukee got past in the East last year, but without Kyrie Irving, with James Harden really on one leg in that series, and a chance now to see both these teams at full strength. It's going to be remarkable, and think of the Oklahoma City alumni group in that game, Harden and KD in Brooklyn, and of course now Russell Westbrook with the Lakers. That is a mammoth Christmas Day matchup.
Now joining me to talk more about the big Nets and Lakers matchup on Christmas Day is our NBA champ, Richard Jefferson, and NBA insider, Dave McMenamin. And I want to start with you, Dave. You're around the Lakers daily. What intrigues you most about this matchup?
Well, think back to the two times the Lakers and Nets played each other last year. February, there's no Durant and no Anthony Davis on the court. April, Richard, I will wear yoga pants similar to you're wearing today if you can name me the three leading scorers for the Lakers in that game.
The three leading scorers for the Lakers in what
when
game?
They played the Nets in April. You might even cover the game.
It's zero chance. Let's see. Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I'll stop you there. You're along the right lines, though. Andre Drummond, no longer a Laker. Dennis Schroeder, no longer a Laker.
Drummond was a Laker?
And Ben McLemore, no longer a Laker. So in that game, no LeBron, no AD, no Harden. So the fact that we can actually see what these teams are supposed to look like with the sprinkled in new pieces in a Patty Mills, with Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, obviously, to me, that's the reason you tune in. You get to see what these teams actually look like.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be exciting. Those are one of the games. Every time you look at the Christmas Day schedule, it's always one, maybe two games that you really look forward to. And I think this is the game that people were probably looking forward to last year. And even like, well, these will be the teams that we'll see in the postseason. It'll be Nets, possibly Lakers. And so I think now to get both teams in a position, and I think the key thing is, are they all going to be healthy at that time? That's going to be the most important thing. But it's going to be fun. When you get the best players, when you get the best teams on Christmas Day, that's just a basketball player's dream, and it's a basketball fan's dream, so I'm excited to watch.
Well, this is certainly one of the games you're going to be taking a break from eating your pancakes. If you're a really, really late riser, if you're having breakfast for dinner, this is going to be one of the games you're going to tune into because, in part, of some of those big three parts that they have. So, Richard, how would you assess that Nets big three versus the Lakers big three that they've now put together?
Well, again, it's so difficult to really talk about both teams I think the Lakers team, I think Russell Westbrook helps them in the 82. And those 82 games, we know that Russell is a monster. And it's going to come down to how well they can mesh over the 16. And that's the journey to win a championship. With the Brooklyn Nets, I think they mesh perfectly. And I think when you add guys like Patty Mills to that bench, you re-sign Blake Griffin, you bring back Bruce Brown, I think their bench is filling out extremely nicely. Now, when you look at the Nets, I know they added Monk, or when you talk about the Lakers, you added Monk, you added some other guys, but I think the biggest question, one, I think is going to be health for the Brooklyn Nets, and with the Lakers, I think is going to be three-point shooting in the postseason, not necessarily over the course of the regular season.
And Frank Vogel said this is going to be a fast-breaking group next year with LeBron and Russell, and that sounds great because both those guys in open court are incredible, and they're the two last assist leaders that the NBA has, but in order to do that, you got to get steals and deflections and defensive rebounds. You sent out your two best perimeter defenders in Alex Caruso and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Who's going to fill those spots in order to allow LeBron and Russell Westbrook to play that style? And that, to me, is the biggest question for the Lakers.
Well, really quickly, the one thing I will say to add to your point is kind of Bron, maybe not as much, but Russell Westbrook, they're both still one-man fast breaks.
Yes.
So now you have two of them that could be passing it off, dropping, because you know they can pass, you know they can run.
Right.
So,
But the offense starts with a stop. So you got to get the stop first. You're not going to inbound under the basket and have a fast break. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Oh, we're already at the point in the show where Richard's making that face. So we know, Richard, right, that when the Nets played together, when their big three played together, they didn't get that much time together. But when they did, they were 11-3 in the postseason combined with the regular season. There were some questions about fit early on, right? And then Kyrie Irving did that famous line of, all right, I'll be the 2, James Harden, you be the 1, and boom, fit, we're off and running.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.